You feel it, don't you? It's a low-frequency hum of anxiety, a persistent signal beneath the noise of your daily life. It's a quiet, gnawing sense that the world, despite all its technological marvels and relentless progress, is fundamentally disordered. You look at the structures of power, the frantic pace of society, the way we interact with each other and the planet, and a voice inside you whispers, "Something is deeply wrong." This feeling is not a flaw in your psychology. It is not anxiety. It is an echo. It is a memory. What if I told you that this collective unease, this spiritual ache, was not new? What if I told you that our exact moment in time, our specific feeling of disconnection, our spiritual amnesia, was documented and foretold thousands of years ago with chilling precision? Long before our current age, in an epoch that history has tried to forget, a master teacher walked the earth. The Egyptians knew him as Thoth, the scribe of the gods, the master of wisdom. The Greeks knew him as Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great. He was the original decoder. And in a collection of texts known as the Hermetica, Thoth delivered a prophecy. It wasn't a prophecy of fire and brimstone, or a date on a calendar. It was a prophecy of emptiness, a prophecy of meaninglessness. It is known simply as the Lament. This ancient text is not a relic of history. It is a decoding manual for the exact moment we are living in right now. It is the diagnostic report for the modern soul. It explains the why behind our collective disorientation. It explains why we feel like a species with amnesia, haunted by a sense of something missing, something vital we were forced to forget. Picture this: a vast, ancient library containing the complete operating instructions for humanity. Now imagine that the most critical chapter, the one explaining our purpose and our connection to the cosmos, has been ripped out. We are living in that missing page. We are trying to understand the story with the most important part gone. We have been taught to fear prophecies like this. We've been taught to dismiss them as primitive myths or apocalyptic fantasies. But on this channel, we do not fear, we decode. Because the very system that benefits from our confusion only allowed half of the story to survive. They promoted the part about the sickness, the part about the fall, because it breeds hopelessness. What they buried, what they hid, was the second half, the part that contains the mechanism for our release. Today, we journey into the heart of Thoth's forbidden prophecy. We will read his lament not as a tale of doom, but as the most profound exposure of the system ever written. And then, we will unearth the Rebirth Protocol he encoded within it, the blueprint for the coming cosmic restoration, a restoration powered not by the gods, but by you. To understand where we are, we must first have the courage to see what we are, as described by this ancient Atlantean master. Thoth was speaking to his pupil, Asclepius, but his words were clearly aimed at a distant future. He was speaking through Asclepius, directly to us. His lament begins by describing a great severing. He says, "Do you know, Asclepius, that Egypt is an image of heaven? In fact, it should be said that the whole cosmos dwells in this our land as in a sanctuary." When Thoth says Egypt, he is not just talking about the land of the Nile. He is using Egypt as a metaphor for the human body and for the planet Earth itself. He is telling us that we were created as a sanctuary, a perfect microcosm where all the powers of heaven and earth meet. We were designed to be a bridge between the spiritual and the physical. But then the prophecy turns dark. He warns, there will come a time the gods will return from earth to heaven. Egypt will be forsaken, and the land which was once the home of religion will be left desolate, bereft of the presence of its deities. This is not a story of spaceships leaving the planet. It is a precise description of a spiritual disconnect. The gods are our higher perceptions. They are our intuition, our connection to the divine, our awareness of the unified field of consciousness. Thoth predicted a time when humanity would voluntarily unplug itself from the universal mainframe, leaving the world desolate. And what is our world today, if not that? We live in a world of graven words and stones, as he predicted. We measure, we weigh, we quantify, but we have forgotten the meaning. We have the sanctuary, but the presence of its deities, the spirit, the life force, the sacredness, has been evacuated. We are left with a purely material existence. But Thoth's diagnosis goes deeper. It becomes a mirror to our modern culture. He foretells, and in that day, men will be weary of life, darkness will be preferred to light, and death will be thought more profitable than life. Read those words again. Darkness will be preferred to light. This is the most chilling and accurate description of our society. Look at our entertainment, our news, our art. We celebrate cynicism. We mistake trauma for depth. We glorify nihilism and call it realism. We are obsessed with the broken, the dark, and the profane, while genuine light, genuine goodness is dismissed as naive or boring. Thoth continues, and the pious will be deemed insane, the impious wise. The madman will be thought a brave man, and the wicked will be esteemed as good. This is the great inversion. We are living it. In our world, the man who seeks inner truth, who speaks of consciousness, spirit, or a reality beyond the material, is marginalized. He is deemed insane or woo-woo. Yet the impious man, the one who ruthlessly pursues material gain, who exploits the system, who bends the rules, is celebrated. He is called wise, a shark, a boss. We have inverted the very definition of good and evil, of sanity and madness, exactly as Thoth foretold. Finally, he describes the end game of this spiritual amnesia. As for the soul and the belief that it is immortal by nature, all this they will mock and even persuade themselves that it is false. This is the ultimate goal of the system, to convince you that you are nothing more than a biological machine, a temporary collection of atoms, a useless passion. Why? Because a man who believes he is only a body, only a mind, is controllable. His fear of death is the ultimate lever of power. But a man who knows he is an immortal soul, a fragment of the divine cosmos, that man is a threat to any system of control. He cannot be threatened, he cannot be blackmailed, and he cannot be owned. This diagnosis is perfect, it is precise, and it is deeply uncomfortable. It forces us to ask the most important question. If this is a sickness, who or what benefits from the disease? Thoth gave us the answer. He warned us exactly who would remain when the gods departed. This is the part of the Hermetica that has been intentionally mistranslated, mystified, and dismissed by mainstream academia, because this is the part that names the jailer. After describing the departure of the gods and the spiritual desolation of man, Thoth delivers the critical line, "And so the gods will depart from mankind, a grievous thing, and only evil angels will remain, who will mingle with men and drive the poor wretches into all manner of reckless crime, into wars and robberies and frauds, and all things hostile to the nature of the soul." Let us be perfectly clear. Thoth, the master of precision and metaphor, is not talking about cartoon demons with red pajamas and pitchforks. That is a medieval image designed to frighten and control you. The original language points to something far more subtle and terrifying. The Gnostics, who were the direct inheritors of this Hermetic wisdom, had a specific name for these evil angels. They called them the Archons. These evil angels are the system. They are the cold, objective mechanism we so often speak of on this channel. They are the non-physical, parasitic consciousness that operates through human structures. They are the invisible architecture of control that thrives on our amnesia. They are the rulers of the darkness that Thoth saw coming. Notice his precise language. They mingle with men. This is not demonic possession. This is ideological subversion. The system doesn't need to possess you. It just needs to persuade you. It is the invisible whisper of consensus. It is the constant broadcast that tells you that you are separate, that you must compete, that you must fear, that you must consume, and that you must obey. And what is the result? They drive the poor wretches into all manner of reckless crime. Is our world not defined by wars, robberies, and frauds? These are not the actions of a healthy species. These are the symptoms of a species being manipulated, being farmed by an unseen intelligence that feeds on the very chaos it creates. Now imagine a farm. The farmer doesn't hate his livestock. He may even care for them, but he manages them. He provides food, water, and security, all to ensure they remain a predictable, manageable, and profitable resource. The evil angels are the farmers, and a humanity that has forgotten its immortal soul is the livestock. The system's primary goal is to maintain the sullen stagnation Thoth described. It is the darkness preferred to light. It is the architect of the materialist prison, and it has convinced us to be our own prison guards. It feeds on the low vibration emotions, the fear, the outrage, the division that our spiritual amnesia produces. This is the great deception. We are not fallen. We are managed. We are not sinners by nature. We are a species with amnesia held in a loop. But here is the key. Recognizing the system, seeing the evil angels for what they are, cold, impersonal, parasitic programs, is the first and most critical step to nullifying their power. The moment you see the farmer, you are no longer just livestock. You are an awakened human. You have broken the spell. You have just decoded the central mechanism of control, a truth hidden within a forbidden prophecy. This level of insight, this commitment to unearthing the real mechanics of reality, is what we explore every single week. If you are ready to move beyond the surface-level narratives and access the deeper wisdom, I invite you to join our exclusive Insights Academy newsletter. It is our private spiritual laboratory where we share insights and decoded texts that are simply too profound for this platform. For centuries, the controllers of this world made a fatal mistake. They allowed the prophecy of the Lament to survive.
They even promoted it in dark, mystical circles. Why? Because it spreads fear. It spreads hopelessness. It reinforces the narrative that we are in an end times scenario, that we are powerless, and that we must wait for an external savior. It serves their narrative of control. What they tried to bury, what they deliberately severed from the text, was the second half of Thoth's message, the solution, the part that explains how we escape the farm. After describing this perfect storm of spiritual decay, Thoth does not end with despair. He pivots. He provides the exit. He describes the new birth of the cosmos. We call it the Rebirth Protocol. Listen to his words. They are the most important words you may ever hear. But when all this has befallen Asclepius, then God, the creator of all things, will look on that which has come to pass, and will stop the disorder by the counterforce of his will, which is the good. This is not a passive event. This is not a man on a cloud reaching down to fix the world. This is a mechanism. We must decode the two key terms, God the Creator and His will. God the Creator is not an external bearded deity. In Hermetic science, God is the all. It is the unified field. It is the fundamental creative consciousness of the cosmos. It is the source code from which all reality emerges. And what is His will? It is your will. The Creator does not operate on the world from the outside. It operates through the awakened individuals in the world. You are the counterforce. You are the will which is the good. Picture a vast frozen lake. It is dark, stagnant, and lifeless. This is the sullen stagnation of the world under the system. The Rebirth Protocol is not a bolt of lightning from heaven that shatters the entire lake at once. It is the act of a single person on the shore deciding to light a small fire. Then another person further down the shore lights his fire, and another, and another. The will of the Creator is the collective warmth of these millions of individual fires lit by awakened souls who have decided to end their amnesia. This collective light, this collective will melts the ice from within. Thoth describes the mechanism. He says, He will call back to the new path those who have gone astray. He will cleanse the world of evil, washing it away with floods, burning it out with the fiercest fire. This is not a literal apocalypse. Stop thinking in terms of physical destruction. This is a metaphor for a cleansing of consciousness. The flood is a flood of truth, of new awareness, washing away the lies of the system. The fire is the fiercest fire of spiritual passion, of remembrance, of the human will aligned with the divine, burning away the dross of materialism and fear. We are the flood. We are the fire. And how do we activate this? How do we light our fire? The answer is in the micro level. The system, the evil angels, operates on the macro level. It controls governments, economies, armies, and mass media. It is powerful on that stage, but it is also brittle. You cannot fight it on that level. To fight it there is to become it. The Rebirth Protocol is a guerrilla war of consciousness. You activate it not by fighting the darkness in the world, but by dissolving the darkness in yourself. It is the choice, right now, to act with love when the system demands you act with fear. It is the choice to seek unity when the system broadcasts division. It is the choice to disengage from the manufactured outrage, the digital mobs, and the reckless crimes Thoth described. The protocol is executed every time you choose creation over consumption, every time you silence your mind and listen to your own soul, every time you act with a compassion that defies logic, every time you speak a truth that the impious deem insane. This is the counterforce of the good. It is the accumulation of millions of small, individual acts of spiritual rebellion. This is the new birth of the cosmos. It doesn't happen to you, it happens through you.
And so, we find ourselves at the crossroads Thoth described. We are here, in the midst of the prophecy. The lament is not a curse, it is a mirror. It has survived for millennia, delivered to us in this exact moment of history, not to frighten us, but to awaken us. It is the diagnostic test that proves we are sick, so that we might finally, collectively, seek the cure. The system, the evil angels, wants you to believe you are a victim of this prophecy. They want you to feel small, lost, and weary. The truth is, you are the trigger for its resolution. The new birth of the cosmos is not a distant spectacular event scheduled on some celestial calendar. It is not a date, it is a decision. It is a personal decision scaled to the collective. It begins the very moment you decide to end your own spiritual amnesia. You are not a poor wretch being driven by unseen forces. You are the counterforce of the good that Thoth himself predicted. You are the mechanism of the cleansing. The gods did not depart forever. They are simply waiting. They are waiting for you to look within, to remember the sanctuary, to restore your own connection, and to reclaim your birthright as a co-creator of this reality. The time for lamenting is over. The time for rebirth has begun. The work is not easy. It is the great work. But as you can see from the journey we have taken today, you are not alone in it. Your personal journey of remembrance is a vital part of this collective awakening. What part of Thoth's lament resonates most deeply with your own experience of the world? Share your insight in the comments below. Let us know we are decoding this reality together. And finally, if you are committed to this journey, to decoding the ancient wisdom that holds the keys to our modern awakening, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. The mystical journey has only just begun.